Typically, it is best to have schedules created in a project template that is used to begin a project. Then when the elements are being inserted into the model, the schedules will automatically populate as components are placed. However, you can always create schedules as the design progresses. For example, in this project, I have 3 Airside systems designed, but I don't have any schedules for the air terminals or mechanical equipment. Let's take a quick look at how we can schedule these components. On the View ribbon, in the Create panel, I'll expand the Schedules drop-down and choose Schedule Quantities. Revit displays the New Schedule dialog. In the category list on the left, you can select the category that you want to schedule. You can also expand the filter list and select which disciplines to show categories from. I'll select Air Terminals. When I do, Revit automatically fills in the name of the schedule in the Name field, although you can enter a different name for the schedule if you wish. The radial buttons below this field let you create a schedule of building components or a key schedule. I'll leave this set to Schedule Building Components. Then I'll click OK to continue to create the schedule. Revit displays the Schedule Properties dialog. The dialog has 5 tabs: Fields, Filter, Sorting Grouping, Formatting, and Appearance. You will usually start with the Fields tab. Here, you select the parameters you want to include in the schedule. The list on the left shows all of the parameters that apply to air terminals. You can also choose to select available fields from rooms or spaces if you wish. You can also schedule elements in linked files. To define the columns in the new schedule, I'll select the fields I want to include and then click Add to place them into the Schedule Fields column. I'll choose Type Mark and then click Add. Then I'll select Type and click Add. Note that you can also simply double-click on a field to add it to the Scheduled Fields list. For example, I'll double-click on Manufacturer. You can also select multiple fields. I'll press the Control key, select Model, Type Comments, and Description, and then click Add. Once fields have been placed into the list of scheduled fields, the order they appear in the list determines their column order in the resulting schedule. You can select a field and then use the Move Up and Move Down buttons. I'll move the Description field to the bottom of the list. Then move Type Comments up so that it comes right after the type. Note that you can come back to this dialog and adjust the order at any time. Also, if you have custom families, you may have additional parameters to add to meet your company standards. Before I create the schedule, I'll switch to the Sorting Grouping tab. Pay attention to the Itemize Every Instance checkbox. Typically, you only schedule air terminal types and not every single air terminal in the project, as you may with mechanical equipment. So I'll deselect Itemize Every Instance. Then I'll expand the Sort By drop-down and choose Type Mark. Then I'll click OK. Revit immediately creates the new schedule and opens that view. If you look in the project browser, you can see that the air terminal schedule has been added to the list of schedule and quantity views. However, the schedule is blank at the moment. This is because none of the air terminals have a type mark. I'll open the Level 2 HVAC plan view. In Computer Lab 209, I'll select one of the supply air terminals and then click Edit Type in the Properties palette. Under Identity Data, I'll type A for the type mark. Then I'll click OK. Now I'll select one of the supply air terminals in Drafting 208. Once again, I'll open the Type Properties dialog. I'll enter B for the type mark and then click OK. Lastly, I'll select a return air terminal and enter C for its type mark. Note that if you used each family type that was loaded in the project, you could simply change the family and then switch to each type here in the Type Properties dialog to enter a type mark for each family type. I'll click OK to close the dialog and then switch back to the air terminal schedule. Now you can see the air terminals that are used in this model up to this point. You could enter some information into the type comments, such as the mounting type, and also specify a manufacturer and model. However, you may have specific parameters that are used for air terminals as defined by your company's standards. You can simply add those in the fields list and change the headings as necessary. Also realize that this is not necessarily how the schedule will appear when you place it on a sheet. You can use the tools on the other tabs of the Schedule Properties dialog to adjust the sorting, formatting, and appearance of the table. To return to the Schedule Properties dialog, when a schedule view is the current view, you can click on any of the Edit buttons in the Properties palette. I'll create another schedule for the mechanical equipment. In the project browser, I'll right-click on Schedules Quantities and choose New Schedule Quantities from the shortcut menu. In the New Schedule dialog, I'll select Mechanical Equipment and then click OK. In the Schedule Properties dialog, I'll add Mark, Type, Manufacturer, and Model for now. This time, on the Sorting Grouping tab, I will leave Itemize Every Instance selected. I will also choose to sort by mark. Then I'll click OK to create the schedule. In this schedule, each instance of mechanical equipment in the project appears. As the design progresses, you may have multiple types of mechanical equipment in the project, so you will need to filter by one of the parameters. For example, you do not want water source heat pumps, cooling towers, and boilers in the same schedule, so you would have to create separate mechanical equipment schedules for each. In the Properties palette, I'll click the Edit button next to Fields. Realize that in this case, you may want to include fields for spaces. If you input the actual load data into your schedule for equipment capacities, then you can select parameters such as calculated cooling load or calculated heating load. However, you can only use these parameters if you used the Integrated Heating and Cooling Load Analysis tool or imported a GBXML file. This can save you time by not having to create new parameters in your equipment families. Also, if you use the actual supply airflow parameter, the sum of the airflow specified in the air terminals will always match the airflow for the fan in the equipment.